So we used composition in order to solve a prop drilling problem and to build our layout in a way nicer way. And so now let's use it to build a reusable box component. So we already converted the list box component here to use the children prop in order to then basically fill that slot, so that hole, with this component that we pass in as a child component. And so now we could go ahead and do the exact same thing with the watched box. So let's actually go there. So watch box, and it's right here. However, if we take a look at this component right here, it is very, very similar to that other box. So to that list box. So basically both of them have this state here of is open. Then they have a div with the class of box. And then they have this button, which is also exactly the same. And in the end, they will render their children conditionally. So based on the is open state. So again, if we go here, we will see that it is basically exactly the same. This one here has this watched state, but we can easily move that somewhere else. So what I'm saying is that both the watched box and the movie box have this same state here. Basically, they have this same class name, this same button, and then they render something conditionally based on the open state. And so this is an amazing candidate to create a reusable component. So let's do that. And let's do it separately, actually, of the other ones. And I will simply call it box. Let me, just to make this a bit easier, cut this one and paste it close to the other one. And then we can see how similar they actually are. And you know what? I will actually not create a new one, but I will immediately convert this one here, because the list box is basically already what we want. So let's just recall it box. Then here we no longer need like this name here of isOpen1 and set isOpen1. Let's change that here, and here. And that's already it. So we no longer need this watched box. So let's completely comment that one out. And so let's now use this box here inside of this list box that we're using. So box right here. Let's remove that one for now. And box here as well. And well, for some, I had the wrong one here open still. So just to make sure, let's reload. And so this part still looks exactly the same as before. And so now we can use this reusable box and simply pass in that content that we passed before into the watched box, which is basically this, right? So copy that and let's paste that here. And now we get the problem, which I was saying before, which is that this watched array here now needs to be moved onto this component. So this state that we had before can no longer live here, but it couldn't anyway, as we will see in a future section. So we would have to place this here anyway. And so yeah, this fixes the problem. And we shouldn't even need this right here. And so there we go. We just created ourselves a reusable box component, and the state now works, of course, still in both. And so we didn't have to rewrite that same state logic and the same button here in both of these lists, because again, they were basically exactly the same. And so what we did, again, was to create this reusable box and in there allow for any children to be passed in. So we created like this empty hole here, ready to receive any components that we want, which in this case is the movies list, and in this case, it's the watched summary and the watched list. So here we have just one children component, and here we have two. But no matter what, our box always works for all of these situations. And so again, all of this logic here, so this button here with setting the open state could just be reused in this way. And on top of that, as a bonus, we made our application tree here even more explicit in the app component. So now it really is very clear what exactly is happening in the application just by looking at this one component. We can immediately see the entire structure of the application, which is really, really helpful. So this is really great, and we're moving into some more intermediate React territory. But that makes complete sense because we are already in part 2, which is exactly for intermediate React. So it's great that at this point we are already able to do something like this, which is already way closer to how real-world React applications look like. So really, really keep this technique of component composition in mind, both for building better layouts, for solving prop drilling, and also for creating reusable components like this one. So hopefully you saw how powerful this is. And so as you start writing your own code, be on the watch out for whenever you can do this. So whenever you can create some reusable components in your own code using this amazing technique.